Marcus Reed thought a surprise visit would reignite the love he'd been clinging to for 2 years. But what he heard outside his ex-wife's hotel room door shattered everything he believed about second chances. Standing in that silent hallway, clutching a gift he'd saved months to afford, he realized the most painful truth. He wasn't abandoned. He had disappeared long before she ever left. What followed wasn't revenge or a fairy tale rescue. It was something far more unexpected. A stranger's kindness, a 10-year-old's wisdom, and a choice between dignity and desperation that would change everything. This is the story of a man who traveled 6 hours to find closure but discovered something he never knew he needed. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're from, because this journey of heartbreak and healing will stay with you long after it ends. The alarm didn't make a sound. Marcus Reed woke up anyway. His eyes opened in the darkness of his bedroom, the kind of dark that feels heavy and complete. Outside, the city hadn't started moving yet. No car horns, no voices from the street below. Just the hum of the refrigerator in the next room and the soft breathing of his children in their beds. He lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling he couldn't see. His body knew the time without checking. 4:30 in the morning. Same as always. Marcus pushed back the thin blanket and sat up. The mattress springs creaked under his weight. He waited, listening. Down the hall, nothing stirred. Good. The kids needed their sleep. He stood and moved through the small apartment like a ghost. His feet knew where the floorboards complained, so he stepped around them. In the bathroom, he splashed cold water on his face and looked at himself in the mirror. Dark brown skin, eyes that looked older than 35, a jawline that needed a shave. He looked away. In the kitchen, Marcus pulled out the bread, peanut butter, and the last bit of grape jelly. He made 2 sandwiches, cut them corner to corner the way Maya liked, and wrapped them in plastic wrap. He added carrot sticks to each lunch bag. An apple for Jaden, crackers for Maya. He checked the fridge. Enough milk for their cereal this morning. He'd need to buy more on Friday when he got paid. The apartment was quiet around him. 1 bedroom for the kids, 1 for him, a living room that doubled as a dining room, a kitchen barely big enough for 1 person, but it was clean. It was theirs. Marcus laid out clothes for the morning. Jaden's jeans and his favorite blue shirt, Maya's pink dress with the flowers. He set them on the couch so they'd be easy to find. He checked the clock on the microwave. 5:15. He walked back toward the bedrooms and stopped at their door. Maya slept curled up like a comma, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her chin. Her breathing was soft and even. Jaden slept on his back, 1 arm thrown over his head. 10 years old and already trying to take up more space than he had. Already watching his father with eyes that saw too much. Marcus leaned against the doorframe and watched them. His chest felt tight. They were good kids. Better than good. They deserved more than this. More than a father who worked nights and came home smelling like dish soap and fryer grease. More than second-hand clothes and a bedroom they had to share. He turned away before the feeling could settle deeper. In his own room, Marcus opened the top drawer of his dresser. Beneath his folded shirts, he found the photo, creased at the edges, faded in the middle. Him and Lena on their wedding day standing in front of the courthouse. She wore a white dress from a thrift store. He wore the only suit he owned. They both looked so young, so sure. He put the photo back and closed the drawer. From under the bed, he pulled out an envelope. Inside, cash he'd been saving for 8 months. 20s mostly. A few 10s. He counted it again even though he knew the amount. $340. Every extra shift. Every skipped lunch. Every time he chose the cheaper option. Marcus put the envelope back and slid it under the bed. He didn't know what he was saving for yet. He just knew he needed to. At 5:45, he put on his work uniform. Black pants, white shirt, a black vest that had his name stitched over the pocket in cursive letters. He tied his shoes and checked himself in the mirror one more time. Before he left, he walked back to the kids' room. He stood in the doorway and watched them sleep. Maya stirred and hugged her rabbit closer. Jaden's breathing stayed deep and steady. "Love you both," Marcus whispered to the darkness. He closed the door softly and left for work. The hotel restaurant started filling up around 6:30. Business people in suits, tourists with cameras around their necks, families with tired kids who didn't want to be awake yet. Marcus moved between tables with a tray balanced on one hand. He smiled when people made eye contact. He refilled coffee cups before they were empty. He brought extra napkins without being asked. "Excuse me," a woman at table 7 said. She didn't look up from her phone. "This coffee is cold." Marcus looked at the cup. Steam was still rising from it. "I'll bring you a fresh one right away, ma'am." He took the cup back to the kitchen and poured from the same pot into a new cup. When he brought it back, the woman didn't say thank you. The lunch shift was worse. A man sent his burger back 3 times. A family of 5 left a $2 tip on a $60 check. A woman spilled her water and acted like Marcus had done it. He cleaned it up without a word. By 2 o'clock, his feet hurt. By 4, his back joined them. He kept moving anyway, kept smiling, kept asking if there was anything else he could get for them. At 6:30, during a rare, slow moment, Earl found him in the hallway near the service elevator. Earl was the night doorman, 50-something with gray in his beard and a voice that sounded like gravel and honey. He'd worked at the hotel for 20 years. He knew everyone's story. "You holding up?" Earl asked. Marcus nodded. "Same as always." "That's what worries me." Earl leaned against the wall. "You look like you're carrying something heavy today." Marcus looked down at his shoes. "Just tired." "Mm-hmm." Earl didn't push. He never did. "You got those kids waiting for you at home. Don't forget that." "I never do." Earl patted his shoulder and headed toward the front entrance. Marcus watched him go, then pulled out his phone. One new message, from Lena. His thumb hovered over it for 3 seconds before he opened it. "In Phoenix for a conference? 3 days. How are the kids?" Marcus read it twice. Phoenix. 3 days. She didn't ask how he was. "Just the kids." He typed back. "They're good. Miss you." He stared at the words, deleted them, typed again, "Fine. Jaden has a math test Friday." He sent it before he could change his mind. Her response came 2 minutes later. "Good. Tell him good luck." That was it. No, "I miss them." No, "Give them hugs for me." Just good luck on a math test. Marcus put his phone in his pocket and went back to work. The dinner shift dragged. His section stayed full until 9. By the time he finished his side work and clocked out, it was almost 10:30. He rode the bus home with his head against the window. The city lights blurred past. People got on and off. Nobody talked. Everybody looked tired. Marcus walked the 4 blocks from the bus stop to his apartment. Mrs. Alvarez's light was still on next door. She always waited up until she heard him come home. He waved at her window. The curtain moved. She waved back. Inside, the apartment was quiet. He checked on the kids, both asleep. He pulled Maya's blanket up over her shoulders. He moved Jaden's pillow back under his head. In the kitchen, he found a plate covered in foil. Mrs. Alvarez had left him dinner again, rice and beans and chicken, still warm. He sat at the table and ate slowly. The clock on the microwave said 11:15. He needed to be up in 5 hours, but he couldn't stop thinking about Lena's text. Phoenix, 3 days. When was the last time they'd talked? Really talked, not just traded information about the kids. When was the last time she'd asked him how he was doing? When was the last time he'd told her the truth if she had? Marcus finished eating and washed his plate. He dried it and put it away. He checked the locks on the door. He turned off the lights. In his room, he pulled out the envelope again. $340. He looked at it for a long time. Phoenix was a 6-hour bus ride. The ticket would cost maybe $80 round trip. He'd have enough left over for a hotel room. Maybe dinner somewhere nice. Nothing fancy, just somewhere they could talk without the kids around. Somewhere he could remind her of who they used to be. The idea settled in his chest like a stone. Stupid. Probably stupid. She was working. She was busy. She'd moved on. But what if she hadn't? What if she was waiting for him to fight for them? What if all this distance was just a test he'd been failing? Marcus put the money back. He'd think about it tomorrow, when he was less tired, when the idea seemed less desperate. He lay down and closed his eyes. Sleep didn't come easy. The next morning, Marcus woke up with the idea still there. It had grown overnight, put down roots. He got the kids ready for school, poured their cereal, made sure Jaden had his homework, made sure Maya had her library book. "Dad?" Jaden asked while putting on his shoes. "You okay?" Marcus looked up from packing lunches. "Yeah, buddy. Why?" "You seem quiet." "Just thinking." "About what?" Marcus smiled. "Grown-up stuff. Nothing for you to worry about." Jaden didn't look convinced, but he didn't push. He was good at reading his father's moods. Too good. After Marcus walked them to the bus stop, he came back and stood in the middle of the living room. The apartment felt too quiet, too empty. He pulled out his phone and looked at Lena's message again. Phoenix, 3 days. Before he could talk himself out of it, he knocked on Mrs. Alvarez's door. She opened it with a smile. "Marcus, come in." "I can't stay. I just wanted to ask you something." Mrs. Alvarez waited. She was good at that, good at giving people space to find their words. "Would you be able to watch the kids overnight? Just one night. I'd pay you." "Don't insult me with talk about money. Of course I'll watch them. When?" "Tomorrow night. I'd leave after work. Be back the next evening." "Where are you going?" Marcus hesitated. Phoenix. Mrs. Alvarez's expression shifted. Understanding settled in her eyes. "To see Lena. Maybe, I don't know, I just need to talk to her." "Does she know you're coming?" "No." Mrs. Alvarez studied his face. Whatever she saw there made her sigh. "The kids will be fine here. You do what you need to do." "Thank you." "Marcus." She put her hand on his arm. "Be careful with your heart." He nodded because he didn't trust his voice. That afternoon, Marcus went to the bus station and bought a ticket. Tomorrow night, 10:15 departure. Arrival in Phoenix at 4 in the morning. Return trip the next evening. The ticket cost $78. He paid cash. On the way home, he stopped at a small shop he'd walked past 100 times but never entered. The kind of place that sold handmade things, jewelry and scarves and pottery. He looked through everything twice before he found it. A small bracelet made of blue glass beads. Simple. Delicate. The kind of thing Lena used to wear before the kids came and everything got harder. "It's pretty," the woman behind the counter said. "Someone special?" "I hope so," Marcus said. The bracelet cost $40. More than he should spend. He bought it anyway. At home, he wrapped it in tissue paper and put it in his work bag. He tried not to think about what he was doing. If he thought too hard, he'd change his mind. That night, he told the kids he had to go away for work. Just one night. Mrs. Alvarez would stay with them. Maya cried a little. She always did when he left. Jaden just watched him with those two old eyes. "It's just one night," Marcus said, kneeling down to Maya's level. "I'll be back before you know it." "Promise?" she asked. "Promise." Jaden didn't say anything until later, when Maya was in bed. He found Marcus in the kitchen, packing a small bag. "You're going to see Mom, aren't you?" Marcus stopped folding his extra shirt. "What makes you say that?" "You have that look, the one you get when you're thinking about her." Marcus sat down at the table. Jaden sat across from him. "I just want to talk to her," Marcus said. "See how she's doing. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe figure some things out. Does she want to figure things out?" The question hit harder than it should have. Marcus looked at his son. When had he gotten so perceptive? When had he started seeing through his father's hope? I don't know, Marcus admitted, but I have to try. Jaden nodded slowly. Okay, just don't be sad if it doesn't work. I'll be fine, buddy. You always say that. Because it's always true. Jaden looked like he wanted to argue, but he didn't. He just stood up and hugged his father. Marcus held him tight and tried not to think about all the times he'd said he was fine when he wasn't. The next night, Marcus finished his shift and changed into regular clothes, jeans and a clean shirt, his only jacket that didn't have stains. He said goodbye to Earl on his way out. Where you headed? Earl asked. Taking a trip. Yeah? Where to? Marcus hesitated. Phoenix. Earl's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. That where your ex is? Conference. 3 days. She know you're coming? No. Earl was quiet for a moment. You sure about this? No. But you're going anyway. Yeah. Earl nodded slowly. All right then. You do what you gotta do. Just remember, sometimes the answer we're looking for ain't the one we want to hear. I know. Do you? Earl put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. Listen, I've seen a lot of people walk through these doors over the years. Seen a lot of folks chasing something that's already gone. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but make sure you're going towards something, not just running away from being alone. Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to say that's not what this was. But Earl's words settled somewhere deep, in a place Marcus didn't want to look at too closely. I'll be all right, Marcus said. Yeah, Earl said softly. I know you will. Question is, will you be happy? Marcus didn't have an answer for that. The bus station was bright and cold. People sat on hard plastic chairs, waiting. A woman with 3 kids. A man in a business suit. A teenager with headphones and a backpack. Marcus found a seat near the back and waited for boarding. He pulled out his phone and texted Mrs. Alvarez. At the station. Thank you again. Her response came immediately. The children are asleep. Safe travels. He almost texted Lena. Almost told her he was coming. Almost asked if she wanted to see him. Instead, he put his phone away and waited. When they called his bus, Marcus stood with the others and filed outside. The night air was cool. The bus idled at the curb, exhaust rising into the darkness. He climbed on and found a seat by the window. The bus wasn't crowded, maybe 20 people total. Everyone looked as tired as he felt. The bus pulled away from the station at 10:20. Marcus watched the city slide past his window. Familiar streets, familiar buildings, everything he knew getting smaller in the distance. He pulled out the wrapped bracelet and held it in his hands. $40, $158 total with the tickets, more than a week's groceries, more than he should risk. But maybe it would be worth it. Maybe Lena would open the door and smile that smile she used to give him. Maybe she'd invite him in and they'd talk like they used to. Maybe she'd realize she missed him too. Maybe. The bus merged onto the highway. Phoenix was 6 hours away. Marcus leaned his head against the window and tried to sleep. Somewhere around midnight, the woman in the seat next to him got off. A man in his 40s took her place. He nodded at Marcus and settled in with a paperback book. They rode in silence for an hour before the man spoke. Long trip? Marcus looked over. 6 hours. Same here. Where you headed? Phoenix. Business or pleasure? Marcus thought about that. Neither. Just something I need to do. The man nodded like that made sense. I get that. Sometimes you gotta finish something before you can move on. Is that what you're doing? Nah, I'm going to my daughter's college graduation. She's the first one in our family to finish. The man smiled. I wasn't there for a lot of things when she was growing up. Worked too much, missed too much. But I'm gonna be there for this. Marcus felt something tighten in his chest. That's good. She'll remember that. I hope so. The man looked out the window at the dark desert passing by. You got kids? 2. A boy and a girl. They know you love them? I hope so. Then that's what matters. The man closed his book. Everything else is just noise. They didn't talk much after that. The man went back to reading. Marcus went back to watching the darkness outside. But the conversation stuck with him. Unfinished things. Being there for what matters. Was that what he was doing? Finishing something? Or was he just desperate? Just lonely? Just afraid of being alone forever? The bus stopped once at a rest area. Marcus got off to stretch his legs and use the bathroom. He bought a coffee he didn't want just to have something to do with his hands. Standing outside in the parking lot, looking up at the stars, Marcus almost got back on the bus and asked the driver to let him off at the next stop. Almost turned around and went home. But he didn't. He got back on. He sat down. He kept going. Dawn broke over Phoenix like a bruise. Purple and orange and pink all mixed together. Marcus watched it through the bus window with gritty eyes. He hadn't slept. The bus pulled into the station at 4:15 in the morning. Everyone stood and gathered their things. Marcus waited until most people had left before standing. His back hurt, his neck hurt, everything hurt. He stepped off the bus into air that already felt warm. Phoenix in spring. The city was just waking up. A few cars on the streets, a few lights in windows. Marcus pulled out his phone and looked up the hotel where Lena's conference was being held. The Sonoran Grand, downtown. He could walk there in 20 minutes. He started walking. The city changed around him as the sun came up. More cars, more people. The buildings got taller. The streets got busier. He reached the hotel at 5 o'clock. It was massive. Glass and steel and probably 300 rooms, the kind of place Marcus had only seen in movies. He stood across the street and looked up at it. Somewhere in there, Lena was sleeping. Or maybe she was awake. Maybe she was getting ready for her conference. Maybe she was thinking about the kids. Maybe she wasn't thinking about him at all. Marcus crossed the street and pushed through the revolving door into the lobby. It was beautiful. Marble floors, chandeliers, furniture that looked like it cost more than his car used to. A few people sat in chairs with laptops and coffee. A woman in a business suit talked on her phone while walking toward the elevators. Marcus felt immediately out of place. His jeans suddenly seemed too worn, his jacket too cheap, his shoes too scuffed. He walked to the front desk anyway. A young woman smiled at him. "Good morning. How can I help you?" I'm looking for someone. A guest." "Lena Reed?" The woman's smile stayed professional. "I'm sorry, sir. We can't give out guest information." "Right. Of course, Marcus trailed off. What was he doing? What was his plan? "Is there something else I can help you with?" Marcus looked around the lobby. Near the conference room entrance, he saw a board with schedules and room assignments. He walked over to it, the desk clerk watching him go. The board listed 3 different conferences happening this week. He found Lena's, Educational Leadership Summit, meeting rooms on the 2nd floor, attendee rooms, 3rd and 4th floor. Marcus studied the list of names and room numbers. He shouldn't look. He knew he shouldn't. But his eyes found it anyway. Reed, Lena. Room 412. He turned away from the board. His heart was beating too fast. Room 412, 4th floor. She was right there, right above him. Marcus found the elevators and pressed the up button. His hand was shaking. The elevator arrived with a soft chime. He stepped inside, pressed 4. The doors closed. His reflection stared back at him from the polished brass. He looked tired. He looked desperate. The elevator rose. Marcus checked his pocket. The bracelet was still there, wrapped in tissue paper. 4th floor. The doors opened onto a silent hallway. Thick carpet. Numbered doors. Soft lighting. Marcus stepped out. He turned left. 404, 406, 408. He stopped outside the door. His heart was hammering now. What was he going to say? Surprise? "I spent money we don't have to show up unannounced because I can't let you go?" He lifted his hand to knock. Inside, he heard something. Voices, laughter, Lena's laugh. He'd know it anywhere. That bright musical sound she made when something genuinely delighted her. A sound he hadn't heard in years, not for him anyway. And then another voice, deeper, male, saying something Marcus couldn't make out. More laughter. Marcus's hand froze. His whole body froze. The voices got quieter, softer. The kind of quiet that means intimacy. The kind of quiet that means Marcus didn't belong here. He lowered his hand. He stood there for what felt like hours but was probably 30 seconds, just standing outside his ex-wife's hotel room, listening to her laugh with someone else. The bracelet in his pocket felt heavy, ridiculous, a $40 reminder of how stupid hope could be. Marcus turned and walked back toward the elevators. His footsteps made no sound on the thick carpet. He moved like a ghost, like he'd never been there at all. In the elevator, alone, he pressed the lobby button and watched the numbers descend. He'd come all this way, spent money he couldn't afford, left his kids, rode 6 hours on a bus. For what? To hear Lena laugh with someone else? To prove that she'd moved on? He already knew that. Somewhere deep down, he'd always known. The elevator doors opened. Marcus walked through the lobby without looking at anyone. He found a bench near the windows and sat down. It was 6 in the morning. The lobby was starting to fill with conference attendees, people in suits with name tags and leather portfolios, people who belonged here. Marcus sat on his bench and stared at nothing. A woman appeared beside him. Not young, maybe his age. Professional clothes, a name tag that said she worked here. Event manager or something. "Sir, are you all right?" Marcus looked up at her. She had kind eyes, brown hair pulled back, a face that looked like it smiled often. "Yeah," he said. His voice came out rough. "Just tired. Can I get you some water? Coffee?" "Water would be good." She nodded and walked away. Marcus watched her go, then looked back down at his hands. She returned with a bottle of water and sat down next to him, not too close. Respectful distance. "Thank you," Marcus said, taking the bottle. "You look like you could use it." She paused. "Are you here for the conference?" "No, I was visiting someone." "Was." Marcus opened the water and took a drink. "She's busy." The woman didn't push. She just sat there quietly. After a moment, she said, "My name's Clara." "Marcus." "Nice to meet you, Marcus." She stood up. "If you need anything else, I'll be around." She walked away and Marcus was alone again. The sun rose higher. Light filled the lobby. People came and went. Marcus sat on his bench and realized something that made his chest feel hollow. He hadn't been abandoned. That wasn't the problem. The problem was that he'd been gone long before Lena left. Gone in all the ways that mattered. Working too much, tired too often. Present in body but absent in everything else. He'd lost her years ago. He just hadn't wanted to admit it. And now here he sat, in a hotel lobby 6 hours from home, finally understanding what he should have known all along. You can't fix the past by showing up in the present. Outside, Phoenix came fully awake. The day started without him. Marcus sat in the light and finally stopped running from the truth. Marcus didn't know how long he sat there. Time moved differently when you were trying not to feel anything. The lobby filled with more people. Voices bounced off the marble floors. Somewhere a phone rang. Footsteps echoed. He watched it all like he was underwater. Around 8 o'clock, his phone buzzed. A text from Jaden. "Did you get there okay?" Marcus stared at the message. His son, worried about him. 10 years old and already carrying too much. He typed back, "Yeah, buddy, I'm fine. How are you and Maya?" The response came quickly. "Good. Mrs. Alvarez made pancakes. That's great. Be good for her. Always am. Love you, Dad." Marcus's throat tightened. "Love you too." He put the phone away and looked around the lobby. He should leave, get on a bus, go home. But the next bus didn't leave until 5 in the afternoon. 7 hours from now. 7 hours to sit with what he'd learned about himself. He stood up and walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on his face, looked at himself in the mirror. Same face as this morning, same tired eyes. But something had shifted behind them. When he came back out, Clara was at the front desk talking to someone. She glanced over and caught his eye. He looked away. Marcus found a chair in a quiet corner and tried to think about what to do next. He could get a room, sleep for a few hours. But that would cost money he'd already wasted. He could walk around the city, but he didn't want to see anything. He could just sit here until it was time to leave. That seemed like the best option. Just wait it out. Around 9:30, his phone rang. Lena. Marcus stared at her name on the screen. His thumb hovered over the answer button. What would he say? Where was he supposed to start? The call went to voicemail. A minute later, a text. Jaden said you're traveling for work. Didn't know you had any trips coming up. Marcus typed, last-minute thing, just for a day. Okay, tell the kids I'll call them tonight. That was it. No curiosity about where he was. No questions about the trip. Just a reminder to tell the kids she'd call. Marcus put the phone away and closed his eyes. Marcus? He opened them. Clara stood a few feet away, holding 2 cups of coffee. I thought you might need this, she said, offering one to him. You don't have to. I know, but it's a long morning, and you look like you could use some company, or at least some caffeine. Marcus took the cup. Thank you. Clara gestured to the chair next to him. Mind if I sit? I've been on my feet since 6. Sure. She sat down with a small sigh and took a sip of her coffee. They sat in silence for a moment. It wasn't uncomfortable. Just 2 people existing in the same space. So, Clara said eventually, want to talk about it? Not really. Fair enough. She didn't push. Just drank her coffee. Marcus looked at her, really looked. She had lines around her eyes that came from smiling, a small scar on her chin, earrings that looked handmade. She wore her professional clothes like they were a uniform she put on but didn't belong to. You do this often? Marcus asked. Sit with sad strangers? Only the ones who look like they might disappear if nobody notices them. That hit closer than it should have. Marcus looked down at his coffee. I came here to see my ex-wife, he said. The words came out before he could stop them. She's here for a conference. I don't know what I thought, that maybe if I showed up, if she saw me, things might be different. And she's got someone else in her room. Clara was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry. Don't be. I was stupid to come. Was it stupid, or was it brave? Marcus laughed, but it had no humor in it. Brave would have been fixing things when I had the chance. This was just desperate. Maybe, Clara said. Or maybe you needed to know for sure. Sometimes we have to see the end of something before we can really let it go. Marcus looked at her. You sound like you know about that. Everyone knows about that. Just in different ways. She turned her coffee cup in her hands. I'm divorced too. 3 years now. Spent 2 years before that trying to save something that was already dead. I kept thinking if I just worked harder, if I just changed enough, he'd come back to who he used to be. Did he? No. Because he was never who I thought he was. I just wanted him to be. Clara smiled, but it was sad. Love makes us see what we want to see sometimes. They sat with that for a while. Around them, the lobby continued its rhythm. People checking out, people checking in, people moving through their lives. I've got 2 kids, Marcus said, a boy and a girl, 10 and 6. They're the only good thing I've done right. I bet you've done more than one thing right. Doesn't feel like it today? Today's not over yet. Marcus drank his coffee. It was good, better than the stuff he made at home, better than he deserved right now. I should let you get back to work, he said. Probably. But Clara didn't move. Though honestly, Sitting here is the most interesting thing I've done all morning. Conference registration isn't exactly thrilling. What do you do here when you're not rescuing sad strangers? I'm the event manager. I coordinate conferences, weddings, corporate retreats. I make sure everything runs smoothly so other people can have a good time. You like it? It's fine. Pays the bills. Keeps me busy. She paused. Though sometimes I wonder what it would be like to do something that actually mattered. Like what? I don't know. Something that helped people. Something real. Clara shrugged. But that's the dream of every burned-out professional, isn't it? Chuck it all and do something meaningful. Nothing wrong with dreams. No, Clara said softly. I guess there isn't. She stood up. I really should get back. But if you need anything, more coffee, someone to talk to, directions to somewhere that isn't here, just let me know. Thank you, Clara. You're welcome, Marcus. She walked away, and Marcus was alone again, but the ache in his chest felt a little less sharp. The morning dragged. Marcus tried reading news on his phone but couldn't focus. He tried watching people, but that just made him feel more disconnected. He tried not thinking at all, but that was impossible. Around 11, he saw Lena. She came through the lobby with 3 other people, all of them wearing conference badges and carrying leather folders. She was laughing at something someone said. She looked professional, put together, happy. She looked like someone who'd moved on. Marcus watched from his corner. Part of him wanted to stand up, walk over, say something. But what? What could he possibly say that would matter? Lena and her group headed toward the conference rooms. She never looked his way, never knew he was there. Maybe that was better. Marcus waited until they were gone, then stood up. He needed to move, needed air, needed to be somewhere that wasn't here. He walked outside into the Phoenix heat. It hit him like a wall, dry and fierce and relentless. He walked anyway. The city stretched out around him, buildings and cars and people who all had somewhere to be. Marcus walked with no destination, just walked. He thought about Jaden's question last night. Don't be sad if it doesn't work. Too late for that. He thought about Earl's words. Make sure you're going toward something, not just running away from being alone. He'd failed that test. He thought about the man on the bus. Sometimes you got to finish something before you can move on. Maybe this was finished now. Maybe that was the point. Marcus found himself at a park. Small, mostly empty except for an old man feeding pigeons and a woman pushing a stroller. He sat on a bench in the shade and watched the world continue without him. His phone buzzed. Mrs. Alvarez. Kids are doing great. Maya wants to know if you're bringing her a present. Marcus smiled despite everything. That was Maya, always looking for the bright side. He typed back, tell her maybe. Depends on if I find anything good. She'll take that as a yes. Probably. He put the phone away and sat in the quiet. A breeze moved through the park, carrying the smell of dry earth and desert plants. It smelled nothing like home. Around 2 o'clock, Marcus walked back to the hotel. He'd grab his bag from the storage where he'd left it and wait somewhere else until the bus. Maybe the station. Anywhere but here. But when he walked into the lobby, Clara was there. She saw him and walked over. Hey, she said. You disappeared. Needed to clear my head. Understandable. She hesitated. Look, I know this is forward, and feel free to say no, but I'm getting off in an hour. There's a diner a few blocks from here that makes pretty good burgers. Want to grab lunch? Marcus started to say no, started to say he should go, started to say he'd already imposed enough. But then he thought about sitting alone in the bus station for 3 more hours, thought about going home to an empty apartment and kids who'd ask questions he didn't want to answer. Thought about Clara's kind eyes and the way she'd sat with him this morning without needing him to explain. Yeah, he said. Okay. Yeah? Yeah. That sounds good. Clara smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. Great. Meet me back here at 3? I'll be here. The diner was exactly what Clara promised. old booths with cracked vinyl, a counter with swivel stools, a menu that had too many options and laminated pages. The kind of place that served breakfast all day and where the waitresses called everyone own. Marcus and Clara sat across from each other in a booth near the window. He ordered a burger and fries. She ordered a grilled cheese and tomato soup. "Comfort food," she explained. "It's been that kind of week." "I hear that." The waitress brought them water and promised the food would be right out. Marcus sipped his water and tried to remember the last time he'd sat in a restaurant as a customer instead of the help. "So," Clara said, "tell me about your kids. You sure you want to hear about that?" "I asked, didn't I?" Marcus pulled out his phone and showed her a picture. Jaden and Maya at the park last month. Maya on the swing, Jaden pushing her, both of them laughing. "They're beautiful," Clara said. "They're good kids. Better than I deserve." "I doubt that." "You don't know me." "I know enough." Clara handed back his phone. "I know you traveled 6 hours to try and fix something. I know you checked on your kids even though you're hurting. I know you tipped the waitress 20% even though you're obviously counting every dollar." She paused. "That tells me plenty." Marcus looked down. "You're pretty observant." "Occupational hazard. I spend my days reading rooms and anticipating what people need." She stirred her water with her straw. "Plus, I recognize the look. The one that says you're doing your best and it never feels like enough." The food arrived. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. The burger was good. Better than good. Marcus couldn't remember the last time he'd eaten something he didn't have to cook himself or scarf down between shifts. "What about you?" Marcus asked. "Any kids?" "No. We talked about it, but the timing never felt right. Then the marriage fell apart, and that was that." Clara didn't sound sad about it, just matter of fact. "Sometimes I wonder if I missed my chance. I'm 36. Not exactly ancient, but not young either." "You've got time." "Maybe." She took a bite of her grilled cheese. "Or maybe kids aren't in my cards. I'm okay with that. There are other ways to have a meaningful life. Like rescuing sad strangers in hotel lobbies?" Clara laughed, a real laugh that made her whole face change. "Exactly like that." They talked about small things. Safe things. She told him about the worst wedding she'd ever coordinated, a bridezilla who made everyone miserable. He told her about his worst shift at the restaurant, a party of 12 who stayed 3 hours and left quarters as a tip. They talked about Phoenix versus wherever home was. She'd lived here her whole life. He'd never left his city except for this trip. They talked about nothing important, and somehow it felt like the most important conversation Marcus had had in months. When the check came, Marcus reached for it. Clara put her hand on his. "Let me get this," she said. "You don't have to." "I know, but you came a long way today. Let me do this small thing." Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to say he could pay his own way. But Clara's expression was gentle and firm, and he was tired of fighting everything. "Okay," he said. "Thank you." "You're welcome." Outside, the afternoon heat had mellowed into something almost pleasant. They walked slowly back toward the hotel. Marcus's bus left in 2 hours. "Can I ask you something?" Clara said. "Sure." "What are you going to do when you get home?" Marcus thought about that. "I don't know. Keep going, I guess. Same as always." "That's it? Just keep going? What else is there?" Clara stopped walking. "Marcus, I watched you this morning. You looked like your world ended, and maybe part of it did. But you're still here. You're still standing. That matters." "Doesn't feel like it." "I know. But take it from someone who's been where you are. It gets better. Not right away. Not easily. But it does." She put her hand on his arm. "You're allowed to grieve what you lost, but don't forget to see what you still have." Marcus looked at her. At this woman who'd shown him kindness for no reason except that he needed it. At this stranger who somehow understood. "Thank you," he said. For today. For the coffee and the lunch and just being decent. That's a low bar. You'd be surprised how many people don't clear it. They walked the rest of the way in silence. When they reached the hotel, Clara turned to him. Your bus doesn't leave for a while, right? 2 hours. Wait here. She disappeared into the hotel and came back 5 minutes later with a piece of paper. My number, she said, handing it to him. If you ever want to talk, or if you're ever in Phoenix again, or just because. Marcus took the paper. I don't know when I'd be back here. That's okay. The offer stands anyway. He folded the paper carefully and put it in his pocket next to the bracelet he'd never given Lena. 2 different weights. 2 different meanings. I should go, he said. My bus. Yeah, Clara smiled. Take care of yourself, Marcus, and those kids of yours. I will. He turned to go, then stopped. Clara? Yeah? You're gonna find whatever you're looking for, the meaningful thing. I know it. Her smile turned soft. You too. Marcus walked away before the moment could get heavier. He grabbed his bag from storage and headed to the bus station. On the ride there, he pulled out the piece of paper with Clara's number. He didn't know what it meant, didn't know if he'd ever use it, but having it felt like something, like a door he hadn't known was there, like a possibility he hadn't considered, like maybe the day wasn't a complete waste after all. The bus ride home was quieter than the trip there, fewer people, more darkness. Marcus sat in the back and watched Phoenix disappear behind him. He thought about Lena laughing in her hotel room. He thought about the bracelet in his pocket. He thought about all the money he'd spent and what he'd gotten for it. The truth, maybe, hard and sharp and unavoidable. He thought about Jaden saying, "Don't be sad if it doesn't work," and realized his son already knew what Marcus had spent 6 hours and $158 to learn. Some things are already over. You just have to accept it. Around midnight, Marcus pulled out his phone. He looked at Clara's number, thought about texting her to say he made it to the bus okay. Thought about saying thanks again. Instead, he opened a new message to Lena. He typed, "I hope the conference is going well." He deleted it. Typed, "I came to Phoenix. I know about him." Deleted it. Typed, "I'm sorry I wasn't enough." Deleted it. Finally, he just typed, "The kids miss you. I hope you're happy." He stared at it for a long time before hitting send. Her response came 20 minutes later. "Miss them too. We should talk soon about the schedule. Not about him being enough, not about her being happy. Just logistics." Marcus put his phone away and closed his eyes. The bus rolled through the darkness, carrying him home to his kids and his life and all the small ordinary things that mattered more than grand gestures. Somewhere in his chest, something that had been holding on finally let go. It hurt, but it also felt like relief. The bus pulled into the station at 2 in the morning. Marcus was one of 5 people who got off. The city was quiet. Most of the lights were off. Even the noise felt muted. He walked the empty streets toward home. His feet hurt. His back hurt. His heart hurt in a different way than it had 24 hours ago. Mrs. Alvarez's light was off. Good. She needed her sleep. Marcus let himself into the apartment as quietly as possible. He set his bag down by the door and went straight to the kids' room. Maya was sprawled across her bed, one leg hanging off the edge. Jaden was curled on his side, hugging his pillow. Marcus stood in the doorway and watched them breathe. These two. His whole world, everything that mattered. He went to his room and sat on the edge of his bed. He pulled out the bracelet and unwrapped it. The blue beads caught what little light came through the window. $40. He could have bought groceries, could have saved it, could have done anything more useful than this. He wrapped it back up and put it in his dresser drawer. He'd return it tomorrow if he could. If not, he'd give it to Maya for her birthday. From under the bed, he pulled out the envelope. He counted what was left. $182. Almost half gone. Marcus lay back on his bed, fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling. He'd gone looking for something in Phoenix. looking for Lena to still love him, looking for a second chance, looking for proof that he hadn't wasted years of his life on something that was never going to work. He'd found something, just not what he was looking for. He'd found that Lena had moved on. He'd found that he'd lost her long before she left. He'd found that hope could cost more than money. But he'd also found Clara's kindness, found that strangers could see him when he felt invisible, found that maybe letting go didn't have to mean giving up. Marcus didn't know what any of it meant yet, didn't know what came next, didn't know how to be the person his kids deserved. But tomorrow he'd wake up, he'd make breakfast, he'd get them ready for school, he'd go to work, he'd keep going. Because that's what you did, even when it hurt, even when you didn't want to, even when you felt like you'd failed at everything that mattered. You kept going. Marcus closed his eyes and waited for sleep that didn't come easily. Outside his window, the city held its breath between night and morning, and Marcus held his breath between who he'd been and who he might become. Morning came too soon. Marcus woke to small hands on his shoulder and Maya's voice saying, "Daddy? Daddy, you're home." He opened his eyes. Maya stood beside his bed in her pajamas, her hair sticking up in every direction. Behind her, Jaden leaned against the doorframe, watching. "Hey, baby girl," Marcus said, his voice rough from too little sleep. Maya climbed onto the bed and wrapped her arms around his neck. "I missed you so much." "I missed you too." He held her tight, breathing in the smell of her strawberry shampoo. "Were you good for Mrs. Alvarez?" "So good. We made cookies and watched a movie and she let me stay up until 8:30. "Wow. That late?" "Uh-huh." Maya pulled back and looked at him seriously. "Did you bring me a present?" "Maya," Jaden said from the doorway. "Don't be rude." "I'm not being rude, I'm just asking." Marcus smiled despite the heaviness in his chest. "I didn't find anything good enough for you, baby. I'm sorry." Maya's face fell for about 2 seconds. Then she shrugged. "That's okay. You're home. That's better than a present." Something cracked inside Marcus's chest. He pulled her close again and kissed the top of her head. "I love you, Maya." "Love you too, Daddy." Over her head, Marcus caught Jaden's eye. His son still stood in the doorway, still watching with those 2 old eyes. "Hey, buddy," Marcus said. "Come here." Jaden walked over slowly. He sat on the edge of the bed, careful and measured. Marcus reached out and pulled him into the hug with Maya. "I love you, Jaden." "Love you too, Dad." A pause. Did you do what you needed to do?" Marcus thought about how to answer. He could lie, could say everything went fine, could protect his son from the truth. But Jaden already knew. Somehow he always knew. "Yeah," Marcus said quietly. "I did." "And?" "And I learned something important." "What?" Marcus looked at both his kids. Maya had already lost interest in the serious conversation and was playing with the buttons on his shirt, but Jaden waited for an answer. "I learned that what I've got right here is everything I need," Marcus said. Jaden studied his face for a long moment. Then he nodded like that made sense, like maybe he'd known that all along too. "Okay," Jaden said. "Can we have pancakes for breakfast?" Marcus laughed. It felt good. "Yeah, buddy, we can have pancakes." The morning moved in its usual rhythm. Marcus made pancakes while the kids got dressed for school. Maya wanted chocolate chips in hers. Jaden wanted his plain. Marcus made them both the way they liked. They sat at the small kitchen table together. Maya talked nonstop about everything she'd done with Mrs. Alvarez. Jaden ate quietly, but smiled at his sister's stories. Marcus watched them and tried to be present. Really present. Not thinking about yesterday, not worrying about tomorrow. Just here, now, with his kids. After breakfast, he walked them to the bus stop. Maya held his hand the whole way. Jaden walked beside them with his backpack slung over one shoulder. At the stop, Maya hugged him tight. You'll be here when I get home, right? I'll be here, Marcus promised. Promise, promise? Promise, promise. She got on the bus satisfied. Jayden paused before following. Dad? Yeah? You're allowed to be sad, you know, about whatever happened. Marcus looked at his 10-year-old son, who somehow understood too much. When did you get so smart? I pay attention. Jayden shrugged. That's all. Well, keep paying attention in school too, okay? Always do. Jayden smiled a little. See you later. See you later, buddy. The bus pulled away. Marcus watched until it turned the corner, then walked back to the apartment. Mrs. Alvarez was waiting outside her door. Morning, Marcus. Morning. Thank you again for watching them. Anytime. They're good kids. She paused. How was your trip? Marcus looked at her kind face. She'd lived in the building for 15 years. She'd been there when he and Lena moved in as newlyweds. She'd been there when the kids were born. She'd been there when Lena left. She knew the story without him having to tell it. It was what I needed, Marcus said carefully. Mrs. Alvarez nodded. Sometimes the trip we need isn't the one we planned. No, I guess not. You look tired. I am. Then go rest. I'll check on you later. Marcus thanked her and went inside. He cleaned up the breakfast dishes. He straightened the living room. He put a load of laundry in the machine down the hall. Normal things, ordinary things, the kind of things that kept life moving forward. By 10 o'clock, he was exhausted. He lay down on his bed and closed his eyes. This time, sleep came. He dreamed about hotel hallways that went on forever, about knocking on doors that never opened, about voices he couldn't quite hear saying things he couldn't quite understand. He woke up at 2 in the afternoon feeling worse than before. His phone showed 3 missed calls from the restaurant, 1 voicemail from his manager. Marcus, hey, just checking if you're still good for your shift tonight. Call me back. Tonight. He'd forgotten about his shift. Marcus called back. Hey, Tony, it's Marcus. Yeah, I'm good for tonight. 6 o'clock? 6:30. We've got a wedding party coming in. Gonna be busy. I'll be there. He hung up and stared at the ceiling. The idea of putting on his uniform and smiling at strangers and pretending everything was fine felt impossible. But he'd do it anyway, because that's what you did. He got up and took a shower, shaved, put on clean clothes, made himself eat something even though he wasn't hungry. At 3:15, the kids got home. Maya burst through the door with a drawing she'd made at school, a picture of the 3 of them holding hands in front of a house with a sun in the corner. That's beautiful, baby, Marcus said, studying it. Can I keep it? Of course! I made it for you! He hung it on the refrigerator with a magnet. Maya beamed. Jayden came in quieter. He dropped his backpack by the door and looked at his dad. You okay? Jayden asked. Yeah, buddy. Just tired. You going to work tonight? Yeah. Mrs. Alvarez will come over around 6. Jayden nodded. He didn't complain. He never did. Marcus made them a snack, apples and peanut butter. They sat at the table together, and Marcus asked about their day. Maya told him everything in great detail. Jayden mentioned a math test he thought he did okay on. Normal, ordinary, good. At 5:30, Marcus changed into his uniform. At 5:45, Mrs. Alvarez knocked on the door. You two be good, Marcus said, kissing Maya's forehead and squeezing Jayden's shoulder. We will, they said together. Marcus walked to the bus stop in the fading afternoon light. The city moved around him. Cars and people and life happening everywhere. He thought about Clara's words. Don't forget to see what you still have. He had his kids. He had his job. He had an apartment and food and Mrs. Alvarez next door. He had more than a lot of people. It should feel like enough. The bus came. Marcus got on and rode toward work, trying to make it feel like enough. The restaurant was packed. The wedding party took up half the dining room. 50 people all dressed up and celebrating love. Marcus moved between tables with practiced efficiency, took orders, brought drinks, smiled when people made eye contact. A woman at table 12 asked for extra lemons. A man at table 8 sent his steak back twice. The wedding party got loud around 9 o'clock, singing and toasting and laughing. Marcus watched them and felt nothing. Around 10, during a brief lull, Earl found him in the hallway. "You made it back," Earl said. "Yeah. How'd it go?" Marcus leaned against the wall. "About how you'd expect." Earl nodded slowly. "She wasn't waiting for you." "No." "You gonna be all right?" "Eventually." "That's honest, at least." Earl patted his shoulder. "Listen, I know it hurts now, but you did what you had to do. Got your answer. That's better than wondering forever." "Is it?" "Yeah, it is. Trust me on that one." Earl walked away and Marcus went back to work. The wedding party left around 11, happy and drunk and generous. They left him a $50 tip. Marcus stared at the bills on the table and felt the irony of it. Celebrating love had earned him more money than he'd spent chasing it. He split the tip with the other servers and bussers like always. His share was $20. He put it in his pocket and finished his shift. By midnight, he was on the bus home. By 12:30, he was checking on the kids. Both asleep, both safe. He sat in the living room in the dark and pulled out his phone. Clara's number was still in his contacts. He'd added it on the bus ride home, even though he didn't know why. He thought about texting her, just to say hi, just to say thanks again for being kind. But what would be the point? She lived in Phoenix. He lived here. They'd shared one meal and a few hours of conversation. That was it. Marcus put his phone away and went to bed. The next 3 days passed in a blur of routine. Wake up, get the kids ready, go to work, come home, sleep, repeat. Marcus moved through it all like he was walking underwater, present but distant. There, but not really. Jaden noticed. He always noticed. On the third night after Maya went to bed, Jaden sat on the couch next to Marcus. "Dad?" "Yeah, buddy? Are you sad?" Marcus thought about lying, about saying he was fine, about protecting his son from adult problems. But Jaden's eyes were steady and serious and deserved the truth. "Yeah," Marcus said. "I am." "About Mom?" "About a lot of things." Jaden was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You're allowed to be sad." Marcus looked at his son. "You said that before." "Because it's true. You're always telling me and Maya it's okay to have feelings, but you never let yourself have any." "I have feelings." "No, you have us. That's different." Jaden picked at a loose thread on the couch cushion. "I'm 10, Dad. I know things are hard. I know Mom leaving hurt you. I know you work too much and worry about money and try to make everything okay for us." Marcus's throat felt tight. "Jaden, and I love you for that. I really do. But you're allowed to be sad too. You don't have to be okay all the time." Something broke inside Marcus's chest, something he'd been holding together with pride and determination and sheer willpower. He put his arm around Jaden and pulled him close. And then, for the first time since Lena left 2 years ago, Marcus cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears that came from somewhere deep and old and tired. Jaden didn't say anything, just leaned against his father and let him be sad. They sat like that for a long time, until the tears stopped, until Marcus could breathe normally again. "Thank you," Marcus said quietly. "For what?" "For being you. For being smart and kind and better than I deserve." "You deserve good things, Dad." "So do you, buddy. So do you." They sat together in the quiet apartment, and Marcus felt something shift. Not better exactly, but lighter. Like he'd been carrying a weight he didn't know he had, and Jaden had helped him set it down. Eventually, Jaden yawned. Marcus sent him to bed with a hug and a reminder that he loved him. Alone again, Marcus pulled out his phone. He opened his messages and looked at the last text from Lena. "We should talk soon about the schedule." For 3 days, he'd been avoiding responding, avoiding the conversation, avoiding everything. But Jaden was right. He couldn't avoid his feelings forever. Marcus typed, "We do need to talk, but not about the schedule. About us. About what happened. About being honest with the kids and with each other." He read it over 3 times. Then he sent it before he could change his mind. Lena's response came 15 minutes later. "Okay. When? This weekend? Saturday morning? Okay. I'll call you." Marcus put his phone away. His hands were shaking a little, but he felt clearer than he had in days. He walked to his bedroom and pulled out the envelope from under the bed. $182. He added the 20 from the wedding tip, 202. He didn't know what he was saving for anymore. Maybe nothing. Maybe just the security of knowing it was there. Marcus put the envelope back and lay down. He thought about Jaden saying he was allowed to be sad, about Clara saying he was allowed to grieve, about Earl saying sometimes you had to let things end. He thought about Lena laughing in her hotel room with someone else. He thought about the bracelet in his drawer that he'd never given her. He thought about all of it, and for the first time, he didn't try to push the feelings away. He just let them be. Sad and relieved and scared and hopeful all at once. Human and complicated and real. Saturday morning came cold and gray. Marcus woke up early out of habit, even though he didn't have to work. He made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, waiting for Lena's call. The kids were still asleep. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional car passing on the street below. At 9 o'clock, his phone rang. Marcus stared at Lena's name on the screen. His heart beat faster. He took a breath and answered. "Hello?" "Hey." Lena's voice sounded tired. "Is this still a good time?" "Yeah. The kids are asleep." "Okay." A pause. "So, you wanted to talk?" Marcus looked out the window at the gray sky. "Yeah, I did." "About what happened? In Phoenix?" So she knew. Of course she knew. He'd texted her from there. She probably figured it out. "You knew I was there?" Marcus asked. "I saw you, in the lobby, the second day." Lena's voice was quiet. "I almost came over, but you looked, I don't know, lost, and I didn't know what to say." Marcus closed his eyes. "I came to see you. I figured. I thought, I don't know what I thought, that maybe we could talk, that maybe things could be different." "Marcus, let me finish, please." He took a breath. "I know you've moved on. I heard you with someone, in your room. I was outside your door about to knock and I heard you laughing with him." Silence on the other end. "I'm not mad," Marcus continued. "I'm not even surprised. You left 2 years ago. You had every right to move on. I needed to know for sure. And now I do." "I'm sorry," Lena said softly. "I should have told you. I just didn't know how." "How long?" 6 months. His name is David. He's a principal at a school in Scottsdale. We met at a conference. 6 months. Half a year of her building something new while Marcus had been stuck in place. "Does he make you happy?" Marcus asked. "Yeah, he does." "Good. That's good." And Marcus meant it, mostly. "The kids deserve to see you happy." "They deserve to see you happy too, Marcus." "I'm working on it." Another pause, longer this time. "I wasn't good to you," Lena said finally. "At the end. I was frustrated and resentful and I took it out on you. And that wasn't fair. I wasn't good to you either. I worked too much. I was tired all the time. I stopped trying. We both stopped trying." "Yeah," Marcus rubbed his eyes. "But the kids didn't deserve that. Didn't deserve us falling apart." "No, they didn't." Lena's voice cracked a little. "I miss them so much, Marcus. Every day." "Then see them more. Come visit. Call more often. They need their mom." "I will. I promise. I'm going to do better." "Okay." They sat in silence for a moment. Not uncomfortable, just heavy with everything unsaid over the past 2 years. "What do we tell them?" Lena asked. "About David." Marcus thought about that. the truth. That you met someone who makes you happy. That it doesn't change how much you love them, that families can look different, and that's okay. You're really okay with this? Was he? Marcus didn't know. Part of him would always love Lena, always wonder what if, always carry the ghost of who they used to be. But another part of him, a newer, clearer part, knew that holding on was just hurting everyone. I'm trying to be, Marcus said honestly, for the kids, for you, for me. Thank you, Lena whispered. Yeah. Marcus? Yeah? You're a good dad, the best. Those kids are lucky to have you. Marcus's throat tightened. Thanks. I mean it. I know. They talked for a few more minutes. About logistics and schedules and when Lena could visit next. Normal things. Necessary things. When they hung up, Marcus sat at the table for a long time. He felt empty, but also lighter. Like he'd been holding his breath for 2 years and finally let it out. The conversation hadn't fixed anything, hadn't changed the past, hadn't made him stop loving her, but it had given him something. Closure, maybe, or at least permission to start moving forward. Marcus heard footsteps in the hallway. Maya appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. Morning, Daddy. Morning, baby girl. You hungry? Uh-huh. Pancakes? Her face lit up. With chocolate chips? With chocolate chips. She climbed into his lap and hugged him. Marcus held her tight and breathed in the smell of her sleep-warm hair. This was what mattered. This was what was real. Everything else was just noise. 2 days passed in the quiet way that days do when nothing dramatic happens, but everything feels different. Marcus went to work, came home, made dinner, helped with homework, tucked the kids into bed. The routine was the same, but something inside him had shifted. He felt steadier, less like he was barely holding on and more like he had both feet on the ground. On Monday night, after the kids were asleep, Marcus sat on the couch and pulled out his phone. He scrolled through his contacts until he found Clara's number. He stared at it for a long time. What would he even say? Thanks again for the coffee. Thanks for being kind to a stranger having the worst day of his life? His thumb hovered over the message button. Before he could talk himself out of it, he typed, Hi, Clara. This is Marcus, from Phoenix. I hope you're doing well. Simple, safe. Easy to ignore if she wanted to. He hit send before he could delete it. 3 minutes later, his phone buzzed. Marcus! I was wondering if I'd hear from you. I'm doing good. How are you? Marcus smiled a little. Better than I was. Thanks for asking. Good. That's really good. How are your kids? They're great. Maya lost a tooth today. Jaden got an A on his math test. That's wonderful. Tell them congratulations from me. I will. A pause. Then, can I ask you something? Sure. Did you talk to your ex-wife after you got home? Marcus thought about how to answer. Yeah, we talked. It was hard but necessary. I'm glad you did that. Takes courage. Or stupidity. No, definitely courage. They texted back and forth for the next hour. Small things, mostly. How her week was going, how his job was. Nothing deep or serious. Just two people talking. It felt easy, natural, like picking up a conversation they'd started days ago instead of hundreds of miles apart. Finally, Clara wrote, I should let you get some sleep. Work tomorrow? Yeah, early shift. Well, I'm glad you reached out. It's nice to hear from you. You too. Good night, Marcus. Good night, Clara. Marcus put his phone down and sat in the quiet. He felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, something light and warm and almost like hope. The week continued. Marcus worked his shifts. The kids did their schoolwork. Mrs. Alvarez watched them when he worked nights. Everything kept moving forward like it always did. But Marcus found himself thinking about Clara more than he probably should. About the way she'd sat with him in the lobby without needing him to explain. About her smile and her kindness and the way she'd made him feel seen. They texted a few times, never long conversations, just checking in. How was your day? What did the kids do? Small connections that somehow felt bigger than they were. On Thursday night, Clara sent him a picture. A sunset over the Phoenix desert, all orange and pink and purple. Thought you might like this. The sky's been beautiful this week. Marcus looked at the photo. It was stunning. The kind of beauty that reminded you the world was bigger than your problems. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing it. You're welcome. What does the sky look like there? Marcus got up and looked out his window. Gray clouds, city lights. Nothing special. Not like that. Mostly just gray. I bet it's still beautiful in its own way. Marcus smiled. You're generous, or realistic. Beauty's everywhere if you look for it. That stayed with him. Beauty's everywhere if you look for it. He thought about Maya's drawing on the refrigerator, about Jaden's careful way of watching the world, about Mrs. Alvarez's kindness and Earl's steady presence. Maybe Clara was right. Maybe he'd been looking in the wrong places. Friday afternoon, Marcus got a text from Lena. I'm coming to visit next weekend. Can I take the kids Saturday afternoon? He responded, Of course. They'll be excited to see you. I want to tell them about David, in person. Is that okay? Marcus sat with that for a moment. It made sense. It was the right thing to do, but it still hurt somewhere deep. Yeah, that's good. They should hear it from you. Thank you, Marcus. For being understanding about all this. We're doing our best. That's all we can do. Yeah, we are. That night at dinner, Marcus told the kids their mom was coming to visit. Maya squealed and clapped her hands. Really? When? Next Saturday. That's so long. It's only 8 days, baby. Still forever. Jaden was quieter. Is she staying here? No, buddy. She'll probably get a hotel. But she wants to spend the afternoon with you guys. Okay. Jaden pushed his food around his plate. Is she bringing that guy? Marcus looked at his son. What guy? The one she's dating. I heard you on the phone with her. Of course he had. Jaden heard everything. I don't know, Marcus said honestly. Maybe. Would that bother you? Jaden shrugged. I don't know. Maybe. That's fair. You can tell her that if you want. I don't want to make her sad. Marcus reached across the table and squeezed Jaden's hand. Buddy, your feelings matter too. You're allowed to have them. Mom will understand. Jaden nodded but didn't look convinced. Maya, oblivious to the heaviness, kept chattering about what she wanted to do when her mom visited. The park, ice cream, maybe the library. Marcus listened and tried to prepare himself for next weekend, for seeing Lena in person, for watching his kids meet the man who'd replaced him in her life. It would be hard, but he'd get through it, same as everything else. Saturday morning, Marcus woke up to his phone buzzing. A text from Clara. Random question. Do you ever get a day off? He typed back, Sometimes. Why? Because there's a street fair in my neighborhood this weekend and I was thinking about you. Marcus read that 3 times. You were thinking about me? Don't let it go to your head. I think about lots of things, but yes. I was wondering if you'd want to come visit. If you can. No pressure. Just an idea. Marcus sat up in bed. Visit Phoenix? Again. But this time would be different. This time he'd have a reason to go. Someone who wanted to see him. I'd like that, but I don't know if I can afford another trip right now. What if I helped with the bus ticket? I know that's forward, but I really would like to see you again. Marcus stared at the message. Part of him wanted to say yes immediately. Part of him wanted to refuse because he didn't take charity. Part of him didn't know what to feel. That's really kind, but I can't let you do that. Why not? Because I barely know you. So get to know me better. Come visit. Worst case, you get a free trip to Phoenix and some mediocre street fair food. Best case, maybe we become actual friends. Marcus smiled despite himself. Is there a middle case? Probably. But let's aim for best case. He thought about it. About seeing Clara again. about having something to look forward to instead of something to run from, about the difference between those two things. Let me think about it? Of course. No pressure. The offer stands. Marcus got up and made breakfast. The kids came out of their rooms sleepy and warm. Maya wanted cereal. Jaden wanted toast. While they ate, Marcus thought about Clara's offer. It felt different than his trip to see Lena. It felt lighter, less desperate, more like possibility than hope. But could he really go back to Phoenix? Take Clara's money for a bus ticket? Leave the kids again so soon? "Dad," Jaden said, "you're doing it again." "Doing what? Staring at nothing, thinking too hard?" Marcus smiled. "Sorry, buddy, just got something on my mind." "What?" "Adult stuff." "Is it about that lady from Phoenix, Clara?" Marcus almost dropped his coffee cup. "How do you know about Clara?" "I saw you texting her, and you smile when you do it." Maya perked up. "Dad has a girlfriend?" "No," Marcus said quickly. "She's just a friend, someone I met when I was there." "But you like her," Jaden said. It wasn't a question. Marcus looked at his too perceptive son. "I don't really know her yet." "But you want to." "Maybe. I don't know." "You should go see her," Jaden said simply. "What?" "If she makes you smile when you text her, you should go see her. When's the last time you smiled like that?" Marcus didn't have an answer for that. Maya kicked her legs under the table. "I think Dad should have a girlfriend. Then he won't be lonely." "I'm not lonely," Marcus said. "I have you two." "That's different," Jaden said. "We're your kids. You need grown-up friends too." When had his 10-year-old become so wise? "I'll think about it," Marcus said. "Now finish your breakfast." The day passed in the usual Saturday rhythm. Laundry, cleaning. A trip to the grocery store with both kids. Maya wanted everything she saw. Jaden helped Marcus stick to the list. At the store, Marcus counted every dollar, calculated every purchase, put back the brand name cereal for the store brand, skipped the cookies Maya wanted, made it work on exactly $63. In the checkout line, Maya tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, can we get ice cream on the way home?" "Not today, baby." "Please? Just this once?" Marcus looked down at her hopeful face. When was the last time he'd said yes to something that wasn't necessary? When was the last time he'd bought something just because it would make his kids happy? "Okay," he said. "Ice cream. But just this once." Maya's face lit up like Christmas. "Really?" "Really." They stopped at a small shop on the way home, the kind with a dozen flavors and waffle cones. Maya got chocolate chip, Jaden got vanilla. Marcus got nothing because ice cream cost money they didn't have. But watching his kids sit on the bench outside the shop eating their cones in the afternoon sun, he knew it was worth it. Maya got ice cream on her nose. Jaden tried not to smile but couldn't help it. They looked happy, really happy. Marcus pulled out his phone and took a picture. This was beauty if you looked for it. That night after the kids were in bed, Marcus texted Clara. "About your offer. Are you sure?" Her response came immediately. "Completely sure. I can't let you pay for the whole ticket. What if we split it? I can do that." "Perfect. When can you come?" Marcus thought about his schedule. "Next Saturday? I'm off work." "That works. I'll send you the details for the fare. It starts at noon." "Okay." "Marcus, yeah? I'm really glad you're coming." Marcus smiled at his phone. "Me too." The next week crawled by. Marcus worked his shifts, came home to the kids, helped with homework, made dinner, all the normal things. But underneath it all, he felt something new, anticipation, excitement, hope that didn't feel heavy or desperate. He told Mrs. Alvarez he needed her to watch the kids again next Saturday. She agreed without asking questions, though her smile suggested she knew more than he said. He told the kids he was taking another trip. Maya pouted until he promised to bring her a real present this time. Jaden just nodded and said, "Say hi to Clara for me." "How do you know I'm going to see Clara?" "Because you smile when you talk about her." Marcus couldn't argue with that. By Friday night, Marcus was nervous. He'd packed a small bag, changed his shirt 3 times, checked his phone every 5 minutes. He pulled out the envelope from under his bed. $202. The bus ticket would cost $40, his half. That left $162. He took out $50 and put it in his wallet. The rest went back under the bed. $50. Enough for lunch and maybe a small present for the kids. Nothing extravagant, nothing he couldn't afford. Before bed, he checked on Maya and Jaden. Both asleep, both peaceful. "I'm trying," he whispered to the darkness. "I'm really trying." Saturday morning came bright and clear. Marcus woke up early, got the kids breakfast, and waited for Mrs. Alvarez. She arrived at 8:30 with a warm smile and a bag of groceries. "You didn't have to bring food," Marcus said. "I know, but I wanted to. Now go. Have a good time." Marcus hugged the kids goodbye. Maya made him promise to bring her something good. Jaden just hugged him tight and whispered, "Be happy, Dad." Those 2 words followed Marcus all the way to the bus station. Be happy. When was the last time he'd even tried? The bus left at 9:15. Marcus found a seat by the window and watched the city disappear behind him. This time, the trip felt different. Lighter, less like running away and more like running towards something. He dozed for a few hours. Woke up somewhere in the desert with the sun high overhead. Checked his phone and saw a text from Clara. "Safe travels. Text me when you get close." He smiled and put his phone away. The bus rolled through the desert landscape. Brown earth and distant mountains and sky that went on forever. It was beautiful in a stark, honest way. At 3 o'clock, the bus pulled into Phoenix. Marcus gathered his bag and stepped off into the warm afternoon air. He texted Clara. "I'm here," her response. "Perfect. I'm at the fair already. It's at Civic Space Park. About 10 minutes from the station. I can come get you, or you can take the light rail." "I'll take the light rail. Be there soon." Marcus found the station and bought a ticket. The train came quickly, and he rode it into downtown Phoenix, watching the city pass by outside the window. Different than his city. Brighter, more spread out. But still just a city. Still just people living their lives. He got off at the park and followed the sound of music and voices. The street fair filled the entire block. Booths selling crafts and food. A stage with a live band. Kids running around with balloons. People everywhere. Marcus pulled out his phone to text Clara, but before he could, he heard his name. "Marcus!" He turned, and there she was, Clara, walking toward him with a smile that reached her eyes. She wore jeans and a blue shirt and looked more relaxed than she had in her work clothes. "Hey," he said. "Hey yourself." She stopped in front of him. For a second, neither of them knew what to do. Then Clara laughed and opened her arms. "Come here." They hugged. It was brief and friendly and somehow exactly right. "I'm really glad you came," Clara said. "Me too. Come on, let me show you around." They walked through the fair together. Clara pointed out booths she liked. They stopped to listen to the band. They tried samples of fresh lemonade and homemade salsa. It was easy, comfortable, like they'd done this 100 times before instead of just now. "So," Clara said as they walked, "how have you been? Really?" "Better," Marcus said honestly. "I talked to Lena, my ex-wife. We had an actual conversation about everything." "How did that go?" "Hard, but good. She's seeing someone." "Has been for 6 months. I'm sorry." "Don't be. I needed to know, needed to stop wondering." Marcus looked at Clara. "You were right. About needing to see the end of something before you can let it go. I'm glad it helped, even if it hurt." They found a bench in the shade and sat down. Around them, the fair continued. Music and laughter and the smell of food cooking. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. "Sure. Why did you invite me here?" Clara thought about that. Honestly, because I liked talking to you. Because you seemed like someone who deserved something good to happen. And because I've been where you are, feeling like life is just about getting through the day instead of actually living it. She paused. I thought maybe we could help each other remember how to do the second thing. Marcus looked at her. At this woman who barely knew him but saw him anyway, who'd offered kindness without expecting anything back, who'd invited him here just because. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For seeing me, when I felt invisible. Clara smiled. You're pretty hard to miss, Marcus. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Clara stood up. Come on. There's someone I want you to meet. She led him through the crowd to a booth selling handmade jewelry. Behind the table stood a woman in her 60s with silver hair and paint-stained hands. Marcus, this is my mom. Mom, this is Marcus, the one I told you about. Clara's mom looked him over with sharp, kind eyes. So you're the one who made my daughter smile all week. Marcus felt his face get warm. I don't know about that. I do. She extended her hand. I'm Ruth. Nice to meet you. You too, ma'am? They talked for a few minutes. Ruth asked about his kids, showed him some of her jewelry, didn't pry but clearly approved. When they walked away, Marcus said, You told your mom about me? Of course. I tell her everything. Clara looked at him sideways. Is that weird? No, just surprising. Why? Because we just met. So? Some people you just know? You know? Clara shrugged. Besides, you're interesting and kind, and you made me remember that there are still good people in the world. Marcus didn't know what to say to that. They walked through more of the fair, stopped at a food truck and got tacos, sat on the grass and ate while the band played classic rock covers. This is nice, Marcus said. Yeah? Yeah. I can't remember the last time I did something just because I wanted to. Not because I had to. Not for the kids. Just for me. Clara bumped his shoulder with hers. Well, you should do it more often. Maybe I will. As the afternoon turned to evening, they walked away from the crowds to a quieter part of the park, found a bench overlooking the city. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed Clara pictures of his kids, Maya's gap-toothed smile, Jaden's serious expression. They're beautiful, Clara said. They're everything. I can tell. She looked at the pictures, then at him. You're a good dad, Marcus. I hope you know that. I'm trying. That's all any of us can do. They sat and watched the sun start to set, orange and pink painting the sky, people walking by with tired kids and shopping bags. Can I tell you something? Clara asked. Yeah. When I saw you in the hotel lobby that morning, I almost didn't come over. I thought maybe you wanted to be alone. But then I saw your face and I couldn't walk away. You looked like I felt after my divorce, lost. Like you didn't know who you were anymore outside of the person you'd been trying to be for someone else. Marcus looked at her. Is that how you felt? For a long time, yeah. Like I'd built my whole life around making someone else happy, and when he left, I didn't know what I even wanted anymore. Clara smiled sadly. It took me 2 years to figure out who I was on my own, to stop waiting for him to come back and start actually living again. What changed? I decided to. That's all. Just decided that I was worth more than waiting around for something that was never going to happen. She looked at Marcus. You're worth more, too, than holding on to someone who's already let go. I know. I'm starting to know anyway. Good. Clara stood up. Come on. I want to show you one more thing before you have to go. She led him to a different part of the park where someone had set up a telescope. Look, Clara said, gesturing to the sky. Stars were starting to appear as the daylight faded. The person with the telescope, an older man with a friendly smile, waved them over. Want to see Saturn? Marcus looked through the telescope and saw it. A tiny bright point with rings clearly visible, so far away but so real. "Wow," he breathed. "Pretty amazing, right?" the man said. "Makes you realize how big everything is, how small our problems are in comparison." Marcus looked up at Clara. She was watching him, not the sky. "Thank you," he said, "for today, for all of it." "You're welcome. Though you did travel 6 hours to get here, I should be thanking you." This was different than last time. "How so?" Marcus thought about it. "Last time I was running from something. This time I was running toward something." Clara smiled. "And? Was it worth it?" "Yeah," Marcus said. "It really was." They walked back through the fair as it started to wind down. Vendors packing up, families heading home, the day ending in that peaceful, tired way that good days do. At 7:30, Marcus checked the time. His bus left at 9. "I should probably head to the station," he said. Clara nodded. "I'll drive you." "You don't have to." "Marcus, let me drive you." They walked to her car, a small blue sedan with a dent in the back bumper and a stack of work folders in the back seat. Clara drove through the evening streets while Marcus watched the city pass by. At the station, she pulled up to the curb and put the car in park. "So," she said, "so, will I hear from you again? Or was this just a nice one-time thing?" Marcus looked at her, at this woman who'd shown him kindness twice now, who'd made him laugh and think and feel like maybe life could be good again. "You'll hear from me," he said, "if you want to." "I want to." "Then yeah, you'll hear from me." Clara reached across the console and squeezed his hand. "Get home safe. Give those kids a hug from me." "I will." Marcus got out of the car and grabbed his bag from the back seat. He leaned down to the window. "Clara?" "Yeah? Thank you. For everything." "You already said that. I know, but I mean it." She smiled. "So do I when I say you're welcome." Marcus watched her drive away, then turned and walked into the bus station. The ride home felt different than any trip before it. Not heavy with disappointment, not desperate with hope, just peaceful, content. Like maybe he'd found something he didn't know he was looking for. The bus pulled into his city at 3 in the morning. Marcus walked the quiet streets home, breathing in the familiar air. His city, his neighborhood, his life. He let himself into the apartment quietly, checked on the kids, both asleep, both safe, left money on the counter for Mrs. Alvarez. In his room, he set down his bag and pulled out the small present he'd bought for Maya. A handmade bracelet from Ruth's booth. Blue glass beads, like the one he'd bought for Lena but never given her. This one wasn't a replacement, wasn't a second choice. It was just a gift for his daughter because she'd asked for one. For Jaden, he'd found a book at the fair about space and planets and all the things bigger than their problems. Simple things, small things, but given with a full heart instead of a desperate one. Marcus got ready for bed and lay down. His phone buzzed with a text from Clara. "Did you make it home okay? Just got in. Kids are asleep. All is well. Good. Sleep well, Marcus. Today was really nice." It was. "Talk tomorrow? I'd like that." Marcus put his phone on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling. Something had changed. Not everything. Not all at once, but enough to matter. He'd gone to Phoenix twice now. The first time, he'd found an ending. The second time, he'd found a beginning. Both were necessary. Both were good. Outside his window, the city slept. Inside his home, his children dreamed. And somewhere in Phoenix, Clara was probably getting ready for bed, too. Maybe thinking about him the way he was thinking about her. It wasn't love. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was connection. It was possibility. It was proof that life could surprise you in good ways if you let it. Marcus closed his eyes and, for the first time in longer than he could remember, he fell asleep smiling. tomorrow, he'd wake up, he'd make breakfast, he'd give the kids their presents. He'd tell them about the street fair and the telescope and the stars. He'd keep going. But now he knew he wasn't just surviving. He was living, and that made all the difference. Sunday morning came soft and golden. Marcus woke to Maya jumping on his bed. "Daddy, you're home! Did you bring me a present?" Marcus laughed and pulled her into a hug. "Yes, I brought you a present. Good morning to you, too." Jaden appeared in the doorway, more reserved but smiling. "How was your trip?" "It was really good, buddy. Come here." They all piled onto Marcus's bed, him and both kids in a tangle of arms and blankets and love. Marcus gave them their presents. Maya put on the bracelet immediately and declared it the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. Jaden held the book carefully and promised to read it before bed. "Did you see Clara?" Jaden asked. "I did." And it was nice. We went to a street fair, saw some stars through a telescope, just talked." "Do you like her?" Maya asked. Marcus thought about how to answer honestly. "Yeah, I do. She's a good friend." "Are you going to see her again?" "Maybe, if she wants to see me." "She will," Jaden said with certainty, "because you're a good dad and a good person." Marcus pulled both kids close. "I love you two so much." "We love you too," they said together. They got up and Marcus made pancakes. The morning passed in easy contentment. Mrs. Alvarez stopped by to check on them, and Marcus paid her for watching the kids. She tried to refuse, but he insisted. "You do too much for us already," he said. "Because you're family," she replied simply. After she left, Marcus sat with the kids and told them about their mom's visit next Saturday. "She's bringing someone to meet you," he said carefully. "His name is David. He's important to your mom." Maya's eyes went wide. "Like a boyfriend?" "Yeah, like that." "Is that okay?" Jaden asked, watching his dad's face. "It's okay. Your mom deserves to be happy, and David makes her happy." "But what about you?" Jaden pressed. "Are you happy?" Marcus looked at his son, his daughter, his whole world sitting right in front of him. "I'm getting there," he said honestly. "It takes time, but I'm getting there." "Because of Clara?" Maya asked. "Because of a lot of things. Clara, you two. Realizing what really matters." Marcus pulled them both close. "I'm learning that being happy doesn't mean everything is perfect. It just means you're grateful for what you have and you keep trying to do better." Jaden nodded like he understood. Maya just hugged him tighter. They spent the rest of the day together. Went to the park, played on the swings, fed the ducks at the pond. Normal, ordinary, beautiful things. That night, after the kids were in bed, Marcus's phone rang. "Clara." He answered. Hey, is this a good time?" Perfect time. They talked for an hour, about everything and nothing, about her work week ahead, about his schedule, about the kids and what they thought of their presents. "They asked if I was happy," Marcus said, "because of you." "What did you tell them?" "That I'm getting there." "And are you? Getting there?" Marcus thought about it. Really thought about the weight that had lifted, about the way forward that felt clearer now, about the peace that was starting to replace the ache. "Yeah," he said, "I think I am." "Good," Clara said softly. "You deserve that." They talked until Marcus was too tired to keep his eyes open. Clara said goodnight and made him promise to text her tomorrow. After they hung up, Marcus sat in the quiet of his living room. He thought about everything that had happened in the past 2 weeks. The trip to Phoenix that broke his heart. The conversation with Lena that gave him closure. The trip back to Phoenix that gave him hope. He thought about Jaden's wisdom and Maya's joy and Mrs. Alvarez's steady kindness. He thought about Earl saying sometimes the answer we're looking for isn't the one we want to hear. He'd found an answer, just not the one he'd expected. He'd learned that love wasn't about holding on to something that was already gone. It was about being present for what was right in front of you. His kids, his life, the possibility of something new with someone who saw him clearly and liked what she saw. Marcus stood up and walked to his bedroom. He pulled out the envelope from under the bed one more time. $112. Less than when he started, but that was okay. He wasn't saving for some desperate gesture anymore. Wasn't hoarding money to chase a ghost. He was saving for his kids' future, for emergencies, for the ordinary needs of ordinary life. Marcus put the envelope back and got ready for bed. Tomorrow, he'd wake up early. He'd make lunches and get the kids ready for school. He'd go to work and smile at strangers and bring home whatever tips he earned. He'd keep going, keep trying, keep showing up for the life he had instead of mourning the one he'd lost. And maybe, just maybe, he'd call Clara, make plans for her to visit his city, introduce her to his kids when the time was right, see where this gentle, easy thing between them might lead. Or maybe he wouldn't. Maybe they'd just be friends who talked on the phone and texted about their days. Maybe that would be enough. Either way, Marcus knew he'd be okay, because he'd learned the most important thing. Healing doesn't come from someone else fixing you. It comes from choosing dignity over desperation, from setting boundaries instead of seeking revenge, from staying where you're wanted and letting go of where you're not. It comes from showing up for yourself and the people who matter. It comes from being brave enough to be sad, and brave enough to hope, and brave enough to try again even when you're scared. Marcus turned off the lights and climbed into bed. Outside, the city held its breath between endings and beginnings. Inside, Marcus finally exhaled. He was home, not just in his apartment, but in himself. And tomorrow, he'd wake up and keep building the life he deserved. One honest moment at a time, one small choice at a time, one brave step forward at a time. The man who'd traveled overnight hoping to reclaim his past had become the man who stayed present for his future. And that was worth more than any answer he'd gone looking for. Marcus closed his eyes, and for the first time in years, he slept without regret. Just peace. Just possibility, just home.